Well, hello friends, and welcome to another video from my series Quick Thoughts On, in which I always talk about different stories from the rich Star Trek universe. 30 years and several weeks ago, the next episode of Star Trek The Next Generation premiered. It was called Yesterday's Enterprise, and these are my honest opinions about it. Well, what should I say about this episode? You know that I love complaining and nitpicking about everything, but this is not a good episode for that type of stuff. This episode simply works, even though it shouldn't. There were 6 people involved in writing this one, which usually means that the final product will suck. After I listened to both audio commentaries on the Blu-ray, I was kind of shocked to hear that this script consists of 2 different stories being merged together, and that the script wasn't finished when they were shooting it, because they had to start shooting it earlier, when Whoopi suddenly got a few days of free time. So they had way too many cooks in the kitchen, or in other words, way too many writers working on the script. They had no time for preparing to shoot it properly, so the resulting product should be a horrible mess. But it's not. It actually works. The story is great, the acting is great, the dialogue is great, the speeches are great, the moral questions are there, the directing is great, the visual effects are amazing and breathtaking, and it's usually considered to be one of the best episodes of the whole series, and I have to agree. We start with Guinan and Worf in 10 Forward. We are informed for the first time that prune juice is a warrior's drink, which will be a running joke across the whole franchise, but Worf is called to the bridge. There is some weird phenomenon outside, which makes Guinan worried. When Mr. Worf arrives on the bridge, we see that something is actually going through the anomaly. When that something comes out, in a completely non-sexual way of course, the bridge of the Enterprise changes. It's suddenly all dark with very dramatic lighting, and there is no Worf. He was replaced by somebody unexpected, Tasha Yar. And that something which arrived through the anomaly is a ship. It's not only some ship, it's the Enterprise USS NCC 1701C, the direct precursor to the Enterprise D. When Gene Roddenberry created Star Trek The Next Generation, he has created a few basic rules which the writers were not allowed to break. One of them was no time travel stories. This made the writers work harder, but I think it was actually a good thing. Only thanks to these limitations, the writers were forced to think out of the box, and instead of time travel stories, they have done several alternate universe or alternate timeline type of stories. This is what happened in this story too. The Enterprise C reacted to a distress call from a Klingon outpost at Narendra 3, which was under attack by the Romulans. The only reason why they didn't help them is that they were sucked into the anomaly and appeared in the future. In the original timeline, the C crew attempted to help the Klingons, even though the Federation and the Klingon Empire were still officially enemies. Even though the sea was destroyed, the Klingons were impressed that their enemies died trying to save them. One thing led to another, and it ended with the Klingon Empire and the Federation becoming friends and allies in the 24th century. Well, that was the timeline we have watched in the series until this point. Because the Enterprise C promised to help the Klingons but never arrived to Narendra 3, it made the situation actually worse, and a new timeline has been created. In this new timeline, the Klingons and the Federation are in open war, and the Federation is losing. The ship, the Enterprise D, is not a family ship anymore. nor a scientific vessel. It is now a warship. Because they are a warship, they were never on Vegra 2, and Tasha was never killed by the swamp monster. Worf is now, of course, not serving for the Federation, and one of the very few problems this episode has for me is the fact that we won't see what happened to him in this new timeline. It would be great if he was, for example, the captain of one of the Klingon ships which will attack the Enterprises later, or something like that. The Enterprise C was severely damaged, but Captain Rachel Garrett and several key personnel survived. Wait, Rachel Garrett? But the woke Twitterati are claiming that Star Trek never ever had women in leading positions, and that finally Discovery has a female captain. Are you trying to tell me all of the blue check marks on Twitter have no clue what they're talking about? And I have another shocking revelation. I actually love Rachel Garrett, and I would love to see a spin-off series with her and the Enterprise C. But the Discovery fans claim that those of us who think that Discovery sucks just all hate women somehow, so I am kind of confused. But anyway, the Enterprise D crew tries to assist the Enterprise C crew to fix their ship, and we see a new relationship forming immediately between Tasha Yar from the D and Richard Castillo from the C. And both of the actors are delivering a fantastic performance, and the most important thing, a very subtle performance. I absolutely love it. We have sci-fi, we have romance, so what about some moral problems? This episode has them too, of course. Should the D crew send the C crew back to the past, when they know their ship will be destroyed and they will all probably die? Guinan has some special powers which allow her to see that the timeline has changed and says to Picard that they must correct what happened. Is it moral to request from the survivors from the sea to go back to their proper time when they know they will almost certainly die? That's a good question. Unfortunately, our heroes or their alter egos don't have to deal with it, because when Captain Garrett hears about that, she does what she needs to do and she orders her crew to repair the ship and get back. So the people from the D work with the people from C on fixing their ship, and Tasha and Castillo go to 10 Forward to have a drink. Guinan looks strangely on Tasha. She first doesn't understand why, but when on the next meeting Geordi suggests that some of them maybe are not even alive in the original timeline, Tasha starts to think all of it is very suspicious. She goes back to Guinan to ask her about her destiny. The only thing that Guinan knows is that Tasha died before Guinan came to the Enterprise, and that her death was meaningless, which is not something that Tasha would like. Any one of the Tashas, actually. So she beams back to the Enterprise C to say goodbye to Castillo, but something unexpected happened. Again, Klingon ships decloak and start firing on the Enterprises. The bridge gets damaged and we get a new problem. Captain Garrett dies. Castillo gets a battle promotion and takes command of the Enterprise C. Thankfully for us, he still wants to go back to his time, like a true hero he is. It's not weird that in this point of the story Tasha is fully in love with him. She is forced to rethink her life and goes to Picard with an unusual request. She wants to be transferred to the sea. Picard hates the idea first, but later changes his mind. She doesn't only want to die together with the man she loves, she also wants to save possibly millions of people by sacrificing herself. And the main reason is that she hates the idea of dying a pointless, meaningless death. So he allows her to do it, and when she persuades Castillo to take her as a technical officer, that means that this is the calm, slow end of the episode. typical for the next generation, right? Well, not really. This is a war story after all, so of course the Klingons attack again. The D protects the sea while they are trying to return to the past, when we see the D being destroyed. We even see the death of Commander Riker, and just like the death of Captain Garrett is unusually graphic for a 1990 TV show, Picard jumps himself to the tactical console when everything around him is in flames. He ends his life as a typical Western hero. I just love it. But we don't get a chance to murder anybody because the sea went successfully back, and we get our old Enterprise D back. With Worf instead of Tasha, Guinan even calls to the bridge to check if everything is okay, but even she herself notices that the timeline has been restored. So we do have a happy end, and we even get a slow-paced ending when she wants to hear something about Tasha. As I said, everything about this episode simply works. The story works, the dialogue works, the drama works, the morals work, the effects work. This is one of the best episodes of Season 3 and definitely belongs to a top 10 list of the best TNG episodes. It will also have very important impacts on the future of the franchise too. The thing is, Tasha has survived the attack and became a wife of a Romulan officer. They had a daughter together. The daughter will appear in a bunch of future episodes, even in the famous plot of the reunification of the Vulcans and the Romulans. There are some minor nitpicks, but those are not really important. Those are just a few things which I would like to see. For example, I would love to see what happened to Worf in the alternate timeline. I would also love to know what powers does Guinan exactly have. There are also some small errors, like Geordi having the wrong uniform in the last scene. But as I said, these are just nitpicks which don't really influence my enjoyment of this episode. On the standard scale from 0 to 10, where 0 is complete garbage, 10 is a masterpiece, and 5 is just average, I would give this episode a full 10 out of 10. This is definitely a must-see episode, but as always, these were just my opinions. Let me know, what do you think about this episode? Do you love it, hate it, or think it's just average? Let me know in the comment section, and see you very soon with another video. Bye.